As a project manager, I want as much of the process of managing my MIDP to be as automated as possible to improve information accuracy and reduce information management costs.
As a project manager, I want to be able to view a single centralised source of my MIDP in order to assist with resource planning and trust that the information is correct and current.
As a project manager, I want to ensure that all contributors are providing the correct data at the correct time and submitting the TIDP directly to the centralised data source to improve monitoring and transparency.
We have built two forms on Microsoft Forms, one for the project manager and one for the subcontractors. The project manager will fill out a form with all the relevant information about the project, such as project code and details on subcontractors. Subcontractors would then fill out a different form where they would give an update on how the project is going. Ideally, some fields in the form will be auto-populated based on the information the project manager has provided in the first form. This was not possible to do with Microsoft Forms, but should be feasible in other tools such as Power Apps. Our solution makes it easy for the project manager to consolidate all the information in one place, but it can be quite time-consuming for subcontractors to fill out a form for each project update.
As we've seen in the previous section, the solution that we have designed is based on two forms that are created in Microsoft Forms. So as you can see in this slide, we also design a full automated process to collect the data from these forms. So if we follow the workflow, so we retrieve the data from form 1, which is the one that is filled by the project manager. We then insert the different fields and information that are collected in the form within a Excel spreadsheet within Google Drive. So the third step in the workflow is inserting those rows. And we also insert a unique ID for each of these rows. The next step will be sending an email to the subcontractor with the link to the second form, as well as the ID they will need to input. And this ID is key to connect the form from the project manager to the form of the subcontractor. So then the subcontractor would enter Microsoft Form and fill in all the fields for the second form. And the process is the same, so all the data of that form will be ingested in a different Excel spreadsheet in Google Drive, which is again a different row for each form using the same ID that we had in the first Excel spreadsheet. And so based on this ID, we can then join together the two tables to have basically one collated single file with all the information collected from the project manager as well as the subcontractor. And then this Excel file will be used to create a dashboard in Tableau and visualize all the overview of all the data collected in the forms. And to ensure there is no duplication, in case a person edits the same form multiple times, we can just implement data validation in Tableau itself, basically retrieving only the most recent form based on the timestamp and just not considering those rows with the same IDs with the older timestamp.
So to finish things off, we'll be answering some of the questions you may have about our solution. The tool makes it easier for the supplier or the TIDP provider, as it limits the options that they can choose to those in the drop-down boxes in the form. This helps to avoid some errors caused by mistyping or by not following the format being used in the MIDP. However, the solution does not address the issue of TIDPs being required to fill each request as a single form, so their experience could be drastically improved by automating this process. The tool simplifies the process substantially for the MIDP owner, as the workflow previously shown collates the TIDPs into an MIDP fitting the ISO 19650 standard with little oversight required. By approaching this for a single organization, it would be easier to automate lots of the information required from the TIDPs, so this could lead to a far simpler solution. It would be important to seriously consider security and who could have access to the sensitive data in both the MIDPs and TIDPs, as well as creating new forms. So applying this in an organization would require some login or authentication system. Duplication has been accounted for in the ETL process, as previously mentioned. Data validation can be applied in Tableau to prevent the same form being submitted multiple times. By doing this, Tableau will only accept the version of each form with the most recent timestamp. This can also be used to replace older versions of each form with a modified new one. An area for improvement in the flow would be adding a notification for suppliers that have not returned their forms within a given amount of time. This would ensure their backlog is more evenly spread.